Welcome to another episode of the J&J Podcast. I'm Jamie,
This is Jameson.
and we want to thank everybody for joining in on today. We're going to kick things off this week. This is our NBA special, our NBA tip-off special. We want to spend most of our time today, talking to you about the NBA. Excited about the season getting started. Before we jump into all that, I do want to talk very, very briefly about the WNBA. I guess congratulations to the New York Liberty. I guess. Jameson and I kind of predicted, or at least we were hoping, that it would be the Lynx and not the Sun, and we got that part right. And I'll just be honest, I was rooting for the Lynx. I have to say that it was a little bit disappointing for the WNBA this year to have, their best year and for it to end the way that it did. And I'll pass this on to Jameson because I know he has some really, really strong feelings, and then I'll come back with my thoughts.
Yeah, my feelings for the way that game ended are stronger than the Ox. But I will say this, to allude to your point, for that to have been such a good, WNBA season, probably arguably the best that they've had, ratings wise, getting new fans, new viewership, the whole nine. And they even talked about that was the most viewed WNBA Finals too in their in the WNBA's history. But for it to end off of the refs making the decision to call that foul at the end of the game where Breanna Stewart just got to shoot those two free throws was very disheartening. And I really feel for the Minnesota Lynx because one thing I've seen on Twitter is a lot of people saying, well, they'll be back. Bruh, just like the NFL, NBA, there's no guarantee that you make it back to the finals from year to year. Like, the Lynx have a really good team going forward, but it's like people don't understand how hard it is to continually make it back to, basically the mountaintop. But I really feel for Napheesa Collier, too, because, she played an incredible not only regular season, but throughout the entirety of the playoffs, she took her game to a whole nother level. And, for her to be one of the up-and-coming superstars, faces of the WNBA, for her not to be getting foul calls that, Breanna Stewart and even like Sabrina Ionescu were getting throughout that entire series, especially, in Game 5, the deciding game, was very disheartening. And also, too, just watching that game at the end, even before, that miss, the foul call at the end of the game, what was very frustrating to watch was that, the Lynx only ended up shooting about 6 or 7 free throws as a team. And then you look on the other side, and the New York Liberty shot over 25 free throws total for the entire game. So, that's already a huge discrepancy between the two. And then on top of that, Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu didn't even have that good of a game. So for them to not play as good as they did, Napheesa Collier to have 14 points in the first quarter, and then to end up losing that game, and in the fashion that they did, it just still leaves a very bitter taste in my mouth. And my prayer is, honestly, I'm telling you now, that officiating crew should never be able to officiate another WNBA game while I'm living, because some of those calls that they made were just flat out egregious, and it really hold the Minnesota Lynx. My prayer is that they make it back to the WNBA Finals next year, but once again, like, this also happened to them back in 2016. Like, there was a shot clock violation call that was missed that pretty much cost them the finals. So this is twice now in the last decade where they've been held ultimately by the referees. So we'll see what happens going forward, but it's hard for me to even say congratulations to the Liberty because they really shouldn't have won that series. So, I mean, I am happy for Breanna Stewart, and of course that's the first WNBA championship for that franchise in 28 years, but it's just still overall just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. But your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, you make some valid points. Even before they called and I'm using air quotes here, the foul, Breanna Stewart walked.
Yeah,
it was a terrible travel. Sabrina Ionescu, I think I saw on Twitter they showed her holding the trophy, and somebody said she should be in handcuffs, which was hilarious. And then to add insult to injury, because I'm just going to say it. Listen, people talk all the time about being paranoid and that sports aren't fixed. The Yankees are now in the World Series. Do you really think that the Liberty were going to be allowed to lose? Because I'm just telling you, I knew at halftime when the Lynx had that lead, I was like, well, let's see how the officiating
We
changes
texted
in this
about
game.
that.
We did. It was in the text about it. I said, let's see how the officiating changes because the Lynx were outplaying them. Part of the reason we selected the Lynx was because I felt from a defensive perspective, they matched up better with the Liberty, and they showed that. They were winning that game. They should have won that game. And I think it's also very disrespectful for the WNBA commissioner to literally be at the game wearing a dress
I
with the
was
New
just about
York
to say
skyline.
that she literally had the
Yeah,
New York skyline
the
up
New
there.
York skyline on her dress. Um, Angel Reese had more common sense than the WNBA commissioner.
Yeah,
She
her
had
outfit had like half an Nafisa Collier jersey and then half a Brianna Stewart jersey.
exactly. And so I just think, I'm sorry, people can say you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever, you're hating. Brianna Stewart traveled, never should have been a foul. I saw several plays for Nafisa Collier to not have gone to the free throw line in that game is terrorism.
Yeah,
It is domestic
and
terrorism.
she got fouled out. Like,
Yes,
think about that. Like, as good of she was literally the defensive player of the year, locking up Brianna Stewart because Brianna Stewart had a stinker that game. Same with Ionescu. Like Jonquel Jones and the Sabali twister, Sabali sister are the reasons why they won that game. Like their depth really stepped up for them. But combine that with shooting almost 30 free throws, like the Lynx really stood no chance in that second half, like you said.
agreed. Well, I just hope that the WNBA takes a long, hard look
Yeah.
at the fact that you got people to come on board this year. You got more followers. We're not Johnny come lately, so we've
Nah.
been watching the WNBA for a while.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of folks just started watching, and we know some of the reasons why. But the truth of the matter is, you get that many people to watch, and you put that kind of product on the floor in the biggest of games. It's somewhat embarrassing. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
The only positive is that people are probably going to talk about it a little bit more now because of all the controversy. But that's a good wrap up to the WNBA. We're going to move it to the NBA, and we'll start off with the conference standing predictions. So, Jameson, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Sure. So I'm gonna first start off with the Eastern Conference, and I'll be honest. I'm just gonna go ahead and preface this. The Western Conference was really hard for me to just rank and give my predictions for where teams are gonna end up by the end of the regular season. But my Eastern Conference standings, I have the Celtics at number one to really no one's surprise. They pretty much have the same exact roster as last year. I had the Knicks number two. The only thing I'm concerned about for the Knicks is they don't have as much depth as they did on their previous teams, given the trade for Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, etc. I have the Bucks number three. I actually feel like now this is basically a season and a half of Dame and Giannis. I feel like it's actually going to work more so this year. They pretty much have the exact same roster. So I feel like they'll actually figure it out and be a better regular season team this year, just barring health. I have the Cavaliers fourth. I just feel like they're built for the regular season. They got Donovan Mitchell back. Evan Mobley will be healthy. Jared Allen will be healthy again. They have honestly a lot of good depth too, so they're going to be very solid, regular season team. I have the 76ers fifth, and I know that might be shocking to a lot of people, but we're already seeing Joel Embiid and Paul George. They just don't want to play basketball right now. I'm gonna give Paul George an excuse because he hyperextended his knee, but Joel Embiid, my brother, how do you play in the Olympics but you're not ready for the start of the regular season? Come on, brother. We got to be better. Then at number six, I have the Orlando Magic. I feel like with the addition of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, that just takes that team to another level. They pretty much have the exact same roster, though, with a lot of young talent. Paulo, Franz Wagner, Markelle Fultz on that team, Jalen Suggs. So really, very, very up-and-coming team that I'm, very excited to see even more of the strides that they can potentially make this season. Then at number seven, I have the Indiana Pacers. Pretty much the exact same roster as last year. I just feel like they're not going to be as good of a regular season team this year, potentially compared to some of these other Eastern Conference teams. To a lot of people's probably surprised, I have the Miami Heat at number eight. It's just a lot of injury questions for them, like whether it be Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, just has been hit with the injury bug the last couple seasons. But Eric Spoelstra's always going to have the Miami Heat in the playoffs, so I do have them at number eight. Then at number 9, I have the Charlotte Hornets. I feel like this is actually the year where if LaMelo Ball can stay healthy, that the Charlotte Hornets will at least be a play-in team. Hopefully, they might be able to sneak in and get that number 8 seed. I would love that for the city of Charlotte. Those fans deserve it. Then at number 10, I have the Atlanta Hawks. So pretty much that's a completely different, new-looking team. They had the number 1 pick in the draft, but they still do have Trae Young, a lot of solid pieces. So I feel like they'll at least make the play-in. But those are my Eastern Conference standings. I'll go and hear from you, sir.
Cool. Our lists are eerily similar.
Yeah.
I have the Celtics. Not happy about that. I have the Celtics, and I will just say this. It'll be interesting to see how Jason Tatum rebounds this year, because I feel like he regressed last year. And I also feel like, it's good that he had a good supporting cast, or I won't even say supporting cast, that he had good players around him, good to great, because they kind of bailed him out. He didn't look good in the playoffs, and he certainly didn't look good in the Olympics. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings this year. So I still have the Celtics, just because they have a really, really good team. I will say, for me, the X factor is Kristaps Porzingis, and I already see he's not playing tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what their depth looks like and whether or not he can stay healthy. I've got the Knicks, new look Knicks. I think with Cat on that squad, they can actually take the next step. It'll just be interesting to see how they use him, how much he'll get on the block. Where with Minnesota, he was on the block, but he also shot a lot of threes, to try to take people off the dribble. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I agree with the Bucks at third. I just need to see if Damian Lillard is going to be, healthy and motivated, because I kind of feel like he wasn't last year.
He still wants to be in Miami.
Yeah, I really think he does. And honestly, I'm not so sure that he's not as happy with. I'm not sure that he's as happy having left Portland as he was last year with Milwaukee. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. I would agree that the Cavs are probably better than the 76ers at this moment. Again, a lot of that depends upon whether or not, Joel Embiid already came out and said he wouldn't be playing back-to-back.
Paul George isn't either.
And so Paul George said he's not playing back-to-backs either?
Yeah, they said that for both of them.
Okay. So I don't think I knew that coming into this. So I'm going to definitely I'd already planned to drop the 76ers down. They are definitely not number 4. The Cavs I have at number 4. I'm going to move the Magic up to number 6, because the 76ers, you're going to have Tyrese Maxey and the rest of them. That's kind of how I'm looking at that at this.
So you have the Sixers at 5 then. I mean, the Magic at 5. You have the Magic at 5, Sixers at 6.
Yes, I have the Magic at 5 and the Sixers at 6. And then I'm going to say, now, this is, again, based on health. I know what you said about the Pacers. You don't think that, they're going to have a much better regular season. I agree with that. I think that the Heat will retool a little bit this year. Mm-hmm. I think that Jimmy Butler, because, when your GM basically calls you out, and he got called out, I think that we'll see him play a little bit more in the regular season, mm-hmm. and not just, be ready for, for the playoffs. So I'm reversing that. I have the Heat above the Pacers for now. I like the Hornets. I think they're a young team. They've got some good pieces. It'll just be interesting to see how those pieces come together. I think LaMelo Ball, his health is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And if he can stay healthy, then yes, I see them being in the play-in. The Hawks, I'm hoping for better. Exactly. I'm hoping for better for them. I would have liked to have seen Trae Young get traded in for them to just go ahead and retool. But I think he'll keep them in games. I just don't know. They just simply don't have enough.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think they can make it to the play-in because he can have 40-point games. But it'll just be interesting to see. I don't have a lot of faith in what the Hawks have been doing as of late. So we've got a few differences, but overall, Celtics are probably going to be the team to beat.
Yeah.
I think tonight will be interesting to see how they use Cat since the Celtics and the Knicks are playing.
Yeah, facts.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And but I think the Celtics, simply because they have the better pieces.
Yeah.
And if Jason Tatum plays up to what we expected him to play up to, then the Celtics are. I don't think it's one of those. Oh, the Celtics are this much better than everybody else. To me, that's not the case because I don't think that they can still beat the Pacers in a 7-game series.
If they're fully healthy, or even Miami. That's been their kryptonite.
Definitely not Miami. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So those are my picks for Eastern Conference standings.
Cool. And then we're going to shift to the Western standings. So, like I said, I'm gonna preface it. The Western Conference was really hard to rank. I mean, it's been like that the last couple of years. But going to get into mine, I have, to probably no one's surprise, I have the Thunder at number 1. I just feel like I had them honestly potentially making the finals last year, but now with the addition of Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso, I just feel like, barring health, like there's no way they don't make it out the Western Conference this year, or at least be in the Western Conference Finals. At number 2, I have the Timberwolves. I just feel like having Anthony Edwards, man, another season, he's going to have an MVP caliber type of year. And then they just have overall more depth now. Getting Rob Dillingham in the draft is still the steal of the draft, in my opinion. Him and Dalton connect. But getting Rob Dillingham, they have Dante DiVincenzo now. Adding Julius Randle, like that team is going to still be able to compete night in and night out. At 3, I have the Mavericks. I feel like, adding Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie, some of these additions that they were able to make just make their team more complete depth-wise, and more equipped to just grind out games throughout the regular season. Then at number 4, I actually have the Phoenix Suns, and I'm gonna preface this by saying this is barring injury. I just feel like now they have a true point guard in Tyus Jones, and then getting Mike Budenholzer in there, who's a defensive-minded coach. That's been their kryptonite the last 2 seasons. While with the overall experiment of the Suns, so if they can be better defensively, I think they'll be number 4 in the West. Then at number 5, which this was I honestly wanted to rank this team a little bit higher, but it's the Memphis Grizzlies. With Ja Morant being back now, hopefully Jaren Jackson can stay healthy. And the addition of Zach Edey, I feel like that team is just going to be really scary. Nobody's going to want to play the Grizzlies. And then no bias here. I'm praying that this happens. Everybody knows we're Lakers fans, but I have the Lakers at number 6. Just, watching the preseason, it'll be interesting to see how he actually played tonight in the regular season. But just the addition of J.J. Redick, Nate McMillan, and Scott Brooks on that coaching staff, pretty much we have the exact same team, so we still have that continuity there. And then we also have Westside Connect now and Dalton Connect. So I'm feeling really excited about what the Lakers can do. At number 7, shockingly probably to a lot of people, I have the Denver Nuggets. And I'm not saying the Nuggets aren't going to be a good team. It's just they don't have any depth, and then they just lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which was huge for them, a defensive 3-and-D type of guy. So not having that depth this year, and losing KCP, I just have them at number 7. Then the team that I'm really have a lot of high expectations for is the Houston Rockets. Them getting Reed Shepherd, they just re-signed Jalen Green yesterday. Well coached. I feel like Ime Udoka can be a Coach of the Year candidate, and a lot of people forget. The Rockets were arguably the best team in the NBA for the last month and a half of the regular season last year, and they were this close to actually making the play-in and making the playoffs. So I expect them to be the number 8 seed this year. Then at number 9, this was also kind of hard to rank too, but I have the Sacramento Kings. I feel like they're still going to be a really good team, but I just feel like a lot of these other Western Conference teams are just going to be that a little bit better. And then at number 10, I have the Golden State Warriors. I feel like, I still have to have any team with Stephen Curry on it. I still have to have at least in the play-in slot. So those are my Western Conference rankings and predictions for this upcoming season.
Cool. Okay, we differ on a few spots, not completely, but I agree with you. Western Conference way harder. Because it's going to be very competitive, and there's a lot of moving parts. For me, it's 1 and 1A with the Thunder and the Timberwolves. I'm saying that I'm going to agree with you that it's the Thunder at least at the beginning of the season because I need to see how Julius Randle blends with the Timberwolves. Um, Randall's game just has always kind of bothered me, and so I just need to see whether or not it blends the right way. And so for me, I'll start with the Thunder, but I also think the Timberwolves could easily be the best team because defensively they're just a really good team, and then Anthony Edwards is really that good. Rudy Gobert, we'll have to see how that happens because I mean when you're not even playable in the Olympics and you were the defensive player of the year, I mean come on man, you're defensive player of the year and you ride the bench in the
They
Olympics.
were
I
also better
mean
in the playoffs last year with him not on the floor when Nas Reed was out
exactly.
there. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see. I just think, you know, to your point, you got Alex Caruso with the Thunder. I mean, you know, I'm again, I'm gonna leave that alone because he still should be a Laker. So I'll move on. Thunder, Timberwolves, 1A. I'm actually going to I'm actually going to move the Suns to number three. And the reason I'm moving the Suns to number three is because of Tyus Jones. I think he's that much of a difference maker.
yeah,
He doesn't turn the ball over. Good, you know, assist to turnover ratio. The Suns really needed a point guard last year. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, you know, taking turns being the point guard, just not going to work. It's too much effort to to try to run the offense and still be scorers. I think Bradley Beal is going to be completely healthy this year. It looks like he will be coming into the season. And then Budenholzer, to your point, adding him means that they will play better defensively. Because that's what they're not. They're known for not playing defense.
yeah.
So having a coach who emphasizes defense and focuses on defense, I think will help. Then I'll have the Mavericks at number four. Um, it'll be interesting, excuse me, to see how Klay Thompson makes that transition to the Mavericks. It's going to be weird not seeing him with the Warriors, but based on how he transitions, that's why I have the Mavericks at four and the Suns above them. The Grizzlies, yeah, Ja's back and healthy. The again for that team for me, the X factor is going to be Jaren Jackson Jr. Can he stay healthy? Because he can be literally a 20 and 12 dude every single night.
Hmm.
Shoots the three, can get on the block, but health is has been an issue over the last year, a couple of years. We're going to disagree. I'm not going to put the Lakers at number six. I'm going to put the Nuggets at number six. Um, I do think the Nuggets have fallen off. I think that because, to your point, they lost KCP, that they lose they're going to lose a step. But I still believe because of Jokic, Jokic, and also Murray, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not Murray is able to take the next step or if he's maxed out.
Yeah.
As I kind of feel like he's at a place where he may be a little bit maxed out. Is he going to get any better, or is he going to kind of stay the same? Does he have another level that he can play at? And I'm not sure that that's the case yet.
He did
So
just get paid too, so that might factor in
right,
some too.
that's a good point. Very good point. So I have them above the Lakers. I would love to have the Lakers at number six, but I have absolutely no faith in Rob Pelinka. Zero. Um, for those that don't know, Jameson's a Lakers fan, and so am I. And I feel like Rob Pelinka should have been fired last summer at the latest. Truth of the matter is, he should have been fired 2 years ago, but that's another conversation for another day. Lakers, I think, have some interesting pieces. Dalton Connect. It'll be interesting to see how JJ Redick uses him. I've already seen in some of the preseason games the difference in how the offense is run, the way that he's using AD. So I think that those pieces will matter. I do believe that if the Lakers don't go get another big man, that seventh in the conference is probably the best that they're going to do. So we'll see if that actually happens. I really like the Rockets.
Yep.
I said for a year before the Lakers hired JJ Redick and before Udoka ended up with the Rockets. I knew he wouldn't come to the Lakers because he doesn't like LeBron, but I felt like he's actually that good of a coach. So I like Houston a lot,
Yeah.
and I agree with you that Udoka has made a huge difference. They now have all those young guys who've had the offseason to work together and to build some more chemistry and to implement some of the things that he really, really wants to do. So I like the Rockets there. Kings and Warriors, we're pretty much in the same boat. Honestly, they're kind of interchangeable. I'll probably put the Warriors at number 9, and I'll put the Kings at 10. They just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything to move the needle for me. Pun intended.
The Kings got DeRozan, but I just feel like that's like, and I love DeMar DeRozan. He's a great player, but it's like that's not really their team. I don't really think that made that team better. He just owned the roster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so Harrison Barnes is gone, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah. So basically, you got rid of Harrison Barnes and you brought in. I'm not saying that DeMar DeRozan isn't better than Harrison Barnes, but I'm saying
it's all about fit too.
It's about fit, and he's not enough to move the needle from my perspective.
No.
So I don't necessarily see him winning them 5 games, 5 or 7 games more.
Yeah, I agree.
Having Harrison Barnes, because Harrison Barnes would actually shoot more threes than DeMar DeRozan does.
Exactly.
He's a mid-range shooter. He's the mid-range master.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, but with the way that the Kings play, up and down, quick, he's honestly going to slow their pace down.
Yeah, exactly.
By having him on the roster now, so Kings and Warriors kind of interchangeable. I just don't think that the Warriors have done enough, but I think they'll probably win a play-in, and then they'll give somebody fits in the first round.
Yeah.
So that's the conferences lined up. Let's go ahead and get our award predictions. So we'll start it off with Rookie of the Year.
So Rookie of the Year, and actually for a lot of these, I have two picks. So I think it's going to be either Reed Shepherd or Zach Edey, and a lot of that's to allude to like the whole Rockets plan. I just feel like the Rockets, they're going to give Reed Shepherd a lot of playing time. I mean, he's a 3-and-D type of guy, and he fits that system perfectly. So I feel like he has a chance to not only, play big minutes, but have some really, solid scoring outputs. And he's a very good defender at the guard position, too. And then for Zach Edey's perspective, it's just like it all goes back to the Grizzlies and their fit. And a lot of this is going to have to do with, too, like Jaren Jackson's health. Because if Jaren Jackson's not fully healthy, they're going to have a big man out there. But even if Jaren Jackson is healthy, there's a lot of lineup combinations that they can run where Jaren Jackson and Zach Edey are out there together. And I can see Zach Edey at least playing 27 to 30 minutes a game. And if he does that, I mean, realistically, that brother could average 13 and 7. And if it's effective and if the Grizzlies are a top 5 seed, he could easily win Rookie of the Year. So those are my Rookie of the Year predictions.
Yeah, so I agree with both. I think it's going to be Zach Edey because I think he'll get more playing time, and even with the minutes that he gets, I see him probably averaging somewhere between like 12 and 8, 12 and 7 with the limited time. In the preseason, he looked great. I mean, the dude is just huge. Like, pause. He's a big dude. Pause. So I think that him, getting some playing time. I mentioned earlier that that Jaren Jackson Jr. can sometimes be, prone to injury. So because of that, I think he'll actually get some playing time. He'll fill in on in some of those games. So I think that Zach Edey is probably going to be my early prediction for Rookie of the Year.
Got you.
All right. What about 6-man?
6-man of the year, I only got one player for it. I think it's going to be Dante DiVincenzo. I think he's just going to be a perfect fit for the Timberwolves. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes. There's a lot of lineup combinations that he can be ran with, with Anthony Edwards. And I think Chris Finch is going to utilize him greatly. And then I also feel like, you've seen some of the beef and the animosity he's already had with the Knicks. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder. So I feel like, those two combined is just going to allow him to potentially win 6-man of the year. So that's my pick.
I think that there's going to be a repeat. I think it's going to be Naz Reid again. Will he be a 6-man this time around? Actually, he may not be a 6-man.
Yeah, you never know. Because they lost Kyle Anderson. They might start him. I don't know.
True. They might start him, but if he doesn't start, I think that Naz Reid could actually repeat as 6-man of the year. Because I mean, honestly, there were games where I'm like, y'all should have started him instead of Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, we saw that in the playoffs. Yeah.
We saw that in the playoffs. So I think if he does not start, and that's kind of a bad, because we just don't know. But if he doesn't start, then he's my pick. I think it'll be a repeat.
Yeah.
Okay. Most improved?
I have two picks. The one I actually think that's gonna win it is Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks. He just got paid yesterday, and I feel like too, like he was set last year to have a really breakout season before he hurt his ankle. But I also feel like he's gonna have to play an increased role this year on the Hawks because they pretty much have an entire new roster outside of Trae Young and I don't know how to pronounce the rookie's last name, Ricochet, whatever it is. Ricochet, but I think Jalen Johnson's gonna have an insane season. Then Zach's gonna like this, but I think somebody else who could potentially win Most Improved Player is Jalen Williams, J-Dub on the Thunder. And I feel like he might get a lot more attention because the Thunder are gonna have a lot more nationally televised games. So those are my two picks.
Interesting. I'm actually leaning towards, and I don't know if you've given this any thought. Victor Wembanyama. Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
I know, but I mean, he came into the league. He was very exciting. But I think he's obviously with the addition of Chris Paul, he's going to get better. And so I think that Chris Paul is going to put him in a position to be ridiculously successful. So I think that he has a very good chance of actually winning Most Improved Player. There's another with the Warriors. I think, what's his name? Kuminga.
Yeah, Jonathan Kuminga. That's a good pick.
Jonathan Kuminga. Well, listen, Jonathan Kuminga is asking for a lot of money, so he better be Most Improved or
he's got to
Player
prove
of
it.
the Year. He's got to prove it. So I think that he's going to step it up. I think he's going to take it up another notch. So I think that he could be make a very strong push to be Most Improved because he's trying to get paid. So those are my two.
To that point, I mean, the voters have kind of shifted away, and superstars now are in qualifications for Most Improved, which doesn't make sense to me. So Wemby could win it with how they've done it. But moving on, Defensive Player of the Year.
You just mentioned it. It's Victor Wembanyama. I don't even think it's close. I think somebody that could potentially, and no bias, he could have won it last year. He got Ho was Anthony Davis. I feel like if he continues to play the 5, he could have a really, another solid season defensively. But I think it's bar none Victor Wembanyama. Like if he doesn't win, like if I was a betting man, I'll go and bet my apartment that he's winning Defensive Player of the Year. That's how confident I am in that.
Okay, that's pretty confident. I think it's going to be Anthony Davis because I think that the league owes him. He should have been at least twice now. He should have been Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sorry, he just should have. And again, I'm going to go back to Rudy Gobert. He knows doggone well that he stole those awards. He knows, and France knows. All of France knows. Everybody in France knows now, and certainly everybody. The ones who in France didn't know, they know now after the Olympics. We already knew here in America that that he did not deserve the Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sorry. So I think Anthony Davis has a really strong chance of doing it. It's according to, again, how J.J. Redick uses him. But I think he has a real strong chance.
Yeah.
All right. The biggest one, MVP. Pause.
I think MVP is going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he should have won it last year. I still don't understand how you can be the best player on the best team in the NBA, average almost 34, 35 points a game, and not get MVP. Like, he really got hold last year. So I think it's hopefully going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think the runner-up, and this is probably going to be no surprise, is Anthony Edwards. I think one of those two are going to end up winning MVP.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is my pick. You can't keep talking as much as Anthony Edwards talks and not back it up. And after seeing that, his most recent basketball ad, his shoe ad, I was like, oh,
yeah, that jump was tough.
Then he just recently came out and said back in the day he would have been the one guarding Mike. I was like, you.
He continues to back it up though, so I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
I
that
love it.
he's going. Yeah, I think he's going to go out there and actually try to prove it. So I think it could be close, but I really think because here's the other piece. I think he's going to actually have to shoulder more because they lost Cat. I just don't see, um, and maybe I'm wrong. I'll hold out hope. I'll be optimistic, and I'll try to be positive about it. I don't see Randall being um, as important a piece as Cat was once Cat figured out how to play within, the system that they have there. I just see Anthony Edwards having to take more on his shoulders. I think he's cool with doing that, and so because of that, I think he may end up being MVP this year.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I'm looking at our show notes, and we'll get into the coach of the year in a second. But one thing that was left off was clutch player of the year. So I'm gonna put both of y'all on the spot. No preface, no working on it beforehand. Clutch player of the year, Jameson. Start with you. Go ahead, give it to me.
Anthony Edwards.
Okay, that's a good one.
All
So
right.
clutch player of the year for me is and I'm going old school. It's Steph.
Yeah.
It's Steph. I mean, I think he'll build upon what he did in the Olympics, that championship game, and he's going to have to. They're going to need for him to, in order for them to, number one, possibly even make it into the playing game, but certainly to go beyond the playing game. So I'm gonna say Steph.
I like that pick. Okay, now on to coach of the year.
I have two, and you alluded to one earlier, Dad. But my actual pick is Mike Budenholzer. I think the Suns, given the season that they had last year, like I said, if we're predicting them to be number 3 or like the number 4 seed in the West, I think the jump they're gonna make defensively is just gonna, and of course with their record is gonna align with that. It's just gonna set Mike Budenholzer up to be coach of the year. But I think if not him, it might end up being Ime Udoka. I just feel like the Rockets are really going to take that next step this year, so I think it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, we both really like Ime Udoka, and man, I'm just telling you, man, I didn't like the fact that he tried to talk trash to LeBron, but I've seen the dude can coach. He just can, and I've been impressed with what he did when he was with the Celtics. I've been impressed certainly with what I've seen with the Rockets and having such a very very young team. I mean, Dylan Brooks is your is your veteran, and
Facts.
you know what I'm saying, and you're winning games, off of defense, and you're winning games off of just literally sheer effort. And so now these are young dudes who don't necessarily understand what it means, so they just go out there and play, and they do what they're told to do. And I think that that's important. He's shown that he can coach. So I like Ime. It'll be interesting to see where the Rockets end up because, again, to your point, if they're 6 or 7, then he probably won't. And I'm gonna my sleeper again based on what the moves are, and this is gonna sound like a homer pick.
JJ
It
Redick.
could be, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say JJ Redick because again in the preseason I've seen adjustments.
Yeah.
I've seen I've seen his ability to coach, and I think that he surrounded himself with some really really good coaches, and I think that he has a philosophy with how he wants to play. And so I think that if the Lakers surprise and maybe make a move or two, he could be my sleeper to be coach of the year.
I like that. And I'm telling you, I pray if JJ Redick wins coach of the year, that means the Lakers have had a great season. So I pray that happens.
Yes, agreed.
That would be pretty cool. But wrap it up. Let's get the in-season tournament winner.
Lakers. I I think they're gonna go back to back. And one of the reason I say that is just like LeBron showed it last year. When there's money on the line like that and stuff, like I feel like a lot of those players, it kind of showed they didn't really take it seriously. Like LeBron and AD and a lot of them, like they really were motivated. I'm not saying other teams won't be this year, but I think they also kind of set up like the storyline of JJ Redick winning the in-season tournament. As a rookie coach, I would love that. So that's my pick.
Okay, it's gonna sound like I'm really sweating. Ime Udoka, but
Oh, that's a good. The Rockets. That's a good pick.
so listen to my rationale. I just talked about the fact that they're still learning how to win. They're a young team. He's built basically a system there. He's built a culture there. One of the ways that you can continue to build on that is say, hey guys, let's go out and win the in-season tournament, and that's one way of showing, hey, we can start to win. We can say we've done something. That's not the ultimate goal, but that's certainly something that we can add to, our accomplishment for the year. So, sleeper pick, going out on a limb, I'm going to say the Rockets.
I love that pick.
I like it too.
Well, thank you.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
So talking about sleeper teams, let's shift into that. Jameson, let's hear yours.
So I'm gonna do one for each conference. My sleeper team in the East is the Charlotte Hornets. We kind of talked about it earlier. It all really depends on LaMelo Ball's health, but I think LaMelo Ball, if he can stay healthy, like people forget, he was top 5 in MVP voting for that first month and a half, 2 months of the season before he got injured. And then I also feel like Brandon Miller is going to take that next step. They brought back Miles Bridges. They still have Nick Richards. And what I really like about that team is they have a new coach in Charles Lee. You can already tell like he's resonated with a lot of the players. I think Trey Mann is going to be an X factor for that team. They have a lot more depth this year. And like you said, it's similar to the Rockets. They're a young team that's really motivated. And I feel like they really like the last thing like LaMelo Ball and like Brandon Miller, something they have to do is just win. So I'm not saying they're about to mess around and make it to a second round playoff series, but if they can at least make the play in and then potentially compete for that 8th seed or 7th seed, I think that'll be a successful season for them. And then out west, it's crazy we haven't mentioned them at all. And this is a team that honestly I wanted to put 9 or 10 for the Western Conference standings, but I think my sleeper out in the West is the San Antonio Spurs. I really like the roster that they have on paper now. They added Harrison Barnes. They drafted Stephon Castle. I think he's going to be a very good defensive point guard in the league. And people, if you thought Wembanyama was good last year, now imagine having arguably one of the best point guards of all time and Chris Paul on that team now. So I think overall, their record might not reflect it, but I think that's going to be a sleeper team. And if all bodes well for them, they could potentially, sneak into that 9 or 10 spot out in the Western Conference.
What about a player?
Oh, sleeper players. Got you. I have 2. They're both out west, actually. So one is Scoot Henderson. I think for the Portland Trailblazers, he's going to take that next step this year. I saw some flashes of it, to end off the regular season last year, but I think he actually takes that next step. And then it's another Houston Rocket player, it's Jalen Green. People that know me know I love Jalen Green. But he just got paid. Honestly, I was talking to Zach about this. I feel like he honestly could have gotten even more. He got a 3-year, $108 million deal. But I think Jalen Green takes that next step. Like I alluded to this earlier, that last month and a half of the season, Jalen Green was on another level. So I feel like he continues to take that next step. I think he gets better defensively as well this year. And I think he's another sleeper that could potentially have a breakout year.
What was the points that he scored when we went to that game, Jay?
39.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. Jamie, were you going to put in your sleeper teams and players, or did you already touch that with the Rockets?
Yeah, see, I was gonna say you're gonna see a theme here. Yeah, it's definitely the Rockets. They're my sleeper team. And then for out west, and then for the East, it's gonna be the Magic. Paolo, I think, is definitely as much as it pains me to say it because he's a Dookie. He's special. So I like the Magic in the East. And I like the Rockets. My player that I will probably surprise both of you, because you're not going to see this one coming, is Trey Murphy. I think, yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
I think Trey Murphy is at that place where he's been able to play with Zion Williamson being in and out of the lineup. I know it's totally different position, but he's actually gotten comfortable in his role. I think he's in the process of getting paid if he hasn't already. I think he was getting ready to sign a major deal. So I think Trey Murphy is going to take that next step and be probably one of the best two-way players. He hits the 3. He's a 3-and-D guy for sure now. Before there was question marks about his jump shot. I don't have those questions anymore. So I think Trey Murphy is probably going to take that next step.
And he just got a 4-year, $112 million rookie contract extension. So yeah.
Yep.
Just about to say that.
Exactly. I knew he was in negotiation, but I didn't know if it had actually come to fruition yet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's just that moved the needle for me. That pick moved the needle. But let's get into the actual segment of that. So Jameson, start us off. What moved the needle for you this week?
I'm gonna say Dalton Connect. Just watching Westside Connect, as Snoop Dogg likes to call him. But just seeing that performance that he had against the Phoenix Suns in the preseason just really gave me hope. And just really just has me very excited to see some of the different lineup combinations that he can be a part of and how JJ Redick is gonna use him on the Lakers this year. And then one thing, also another reason why I moved the needle for me as well was. It's just one thing me and my dad have been raving about is just been talking about is like the Lakers need a flat out shooter. And the way he was shooting the ball, like when you can shoot the ball so well that Reggie Miller gets out of his seat, you can shoot that thing. So I'm very excited to see how Dalton Connect, continues to mesh and gel with the Lakers. And one thing I feel like that's going to be a plus for him is, which is wild to me that this was why supposedly that he kind of fell in the draft, because he's like 22 or 23 years old. But I can already tell he's playing with a lot more confidence than some of the other rookies that I've seen. So that's what moved the needle for me this past week.
I have to say the same. It's Dalton Connect. When I watched that game, so two things moved the needle for me. Jalen Hood-Schifino, he moved the needle, but in the wrong direction. Completely in the wrong direction. Having watched that game and how Dalton Connect was firing on all cylinders, when you're in the NBA and you see which dude has the hot hand, your job as a point guard is to continue to feed him. And Dalton Connect was on fire. And it'll be interesting to see because he could be a kind of a sleeper based on how much JJ Redick actually uses him. Have we had him, last year when Rui was hurt, when Vandy kept, we just didn't know from week to week when Vandy was going to play. Having a dude like that, we've been talking about getting a shooter. We've been wanting Buddy Hield for years for the Lakers. I said that 3 years ago. Buddy Hield would have been the perfect fit. But Rob Pelinka chose to sit on his hands and do absolutely nothing. Again, I'm not going to get on that because it just ticks me off. But I do believe that he can really move the needle. But Jalen Hood-Schifino, move the needle in the wrong direction. You had that dude on fire, and you decided, no, I'm not going to pass the ball. I'm going to drive in, throw up a shot, not get fouled, and miss. And you do that 2 or 3 plays in a row when this dude is on fire. So Dalton Connect moved the needle in the right direction. Jalen Hood-Schifino moved it in the wrong direction.
Dang. I didn't really know what to say.
Sorry.
That's crazy.
Just ticked me off, man.
But that's a good way to end it out. But we still have one more thing. We'll get the predictions for today's tip-off. We got the Knicks and the Celtics. So we'll start there. Jameson, who you got?
I'm going to take the Celtics. I just feel like they really have the exact same roster. They already have continuity. I think it's going to take the Knicks a couple weeks to, establish chemistry. And also, too, one thing I'm kind of concerned about is I hope they can stay healthy because Tom Thibodeau is known to play dudes 75 minutes a game. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Celtics are going to come out tonight. And it kind of pains me to pick a team that's – because most teams – that are on ring night typically lose, but I just feel like the Celtics are going to come out just hitting a lot of threes, swinging. I think they're going to end up winning that game.
I agree.
Yeah.
I have the Celtics too. Pains me to say that. But I have the Celtics too, and I also think Jason Tatum has something to prove, and he needs to prove it. So I agree with you. I don't like it, but I have the Celtics as well. And then, Jameson, you had Wolves and Lakers prediction. I think I jumped in too soon. What was your prediction with that?
Oh, I'm taking the Lakers. It's a home game. I think LeBron and AD are going to come out, and I really think too, they were even talking about it today. I was watching the Lakers press conference post practice, and they were talking about how J.J. Redick has put an emphasis on the Lakers starting off this season strong. We have kind of a tough schedule, but the last couple years we've always gotten off to a slow start and I always had to like try to climb back out and do enough to make the play in. So I think with the new coaching staff and there being an emphasis on coming out hitting the ground running, I think we're actually going to come out tonight and have a really good solid performance. And I think they really want to win for J.J. Redick too. So I'm gonna take the Lakers.
I would agree. This is not a homer pick. I'm picking the Lakers because I think there's more continuity. I really believe that the Wolves are gonna have to figure out how to play without Cat. I really think that that's going to take a little bit of time. Do I still think they're going to be one of the better teams in the West? I do, but I think that that's going to take a little bit of time. So I've got the Lakers winning as well. And last thing before we head out, I have a quick PSA, public service announcement. I know a lot of times people say, hey, we don't want to hear about politics in our sports. I'm not going to. But I will tell everybody, get out there and vote. Early voting has started now. It's your chance to actually, give your voice. Your vote is your voice. I know a lot of people think, and they're disillusioned with the process, but the truth of the matter is you can't complain if you don't get out there and vote. And Jamison, I'll say for your generation, there's a lot at stake. Opportunities to buy homes, get things like that. I'm not saying who to vote for. I'm just saying that your voice matters. Your vote is your voice, and everybody should get out and vote. And I'm not going to just shut up and talk about sports or shut up and dribble and all that other stuff that other people have said. If you're a citizen of the U.S., it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, an actress, or whatever, you pay taxes and you help elect who is in the government. So I think it's important for everybody to voice their opinion. And as my mom said, too many people fought and even died for people to have the right to vote. So I think it's that important.
You spitting. I'm about to go vote tomorrow morning.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. I think that's going to do it for this week's podcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening and joining in, and we will see you next week.